Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, April 17th, 2025.
Hard to believe it's already mid-April.
I know, right? Quick look outside here in Sacramento. Looks mostly sunny today, expecting a high around 72 Fahrenheit.
Nice day for it.
Yep. And just a quick check on the markets from yesterday's close, Wednesday the 16th. Dow Jones finished at 3,969.39.
Okay.
And the S&P 500 closed at 5,275.7.
Got it.
All right, so for today's Connecting the Dots deep dive, we've got three pretty significant tech stories that have been making headlines.
And we want to try and unpack them a bit, see how they might actually, connect back to everyday life.
Exactly. It's sometimes hard to see the link between these big industry moves and, well, us.
For sure. So where are we starting?
Let's kick things off with what's happening with AI chips in China. It seems the U.S. government is putting some new restrictions on exports.
Yes, affecting the big players, Intel and Nvidia.
That's the one. So Intel apparently told its Chinese clients just last week, I think, about new licensing requirements.
Right. And it's for specific types of AI processors.
Yeah.
The really high-end stuff.
Yeah, they mentioned thresholds. Something about DRAM bandwidth.
Correct. Chips with a total DRAM bandwidth of 1,400 gigabytes per second or more, or an I/O bandwidth of 1,100 gigabytes per second. Think of it like the width of the highway for data going in and out.
So really fast data highways.
Pretty much. Essential for the kind of heavy lifting advanced AI needs to do.
And Intel's Gaudi chips, they fall into this category.
It seems so. They're mentioned as being similar in capability to NVIDIA's H20 chip. And yeah, they reportedly exceed those bandwidth thresholds.
So they're caught by these new rules.
Looks like it. And this comes after NVIDIA already warned investors, didn't they, about a potential big hit to their revenue from similar rules.
Yeah, something like a potential $5.5 billion impact. That's significant.
It really is. And this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it?
Yeah.
It feels like part of that ongoing trade friction between the U.S. and China.
Definitely. You see some tariffs paused, but then higher duties slapped on other things. China hits back with its own tariffs. It's complex.
And the market is definitely noticing. Intel stock took a tumble.
Down about 3.12% on Wednesday. And looking back over the year, it's, wow, nearly 47% down.
Ouch. And it wasn't just Intel, right? The whole semiconductor sector seemed a bit shaky.
Yeah, AMD, ASML, Nvidia, they all saw drops on Wednesday too.
AMD even mentioned potential charges, didn't they? Hundreds of millions related to inventory because of these export rules.
Up to $800 million, yeah. And ASML, the company that makes the machines to make the chips, they warned about uncertainty from rising tariffs too.
So, okay, connecting the dots. What does this mean for someone listening? Why should they care about chip export rules to China?
Well, these high-end AI chips power a lot of the technology that's becoming more common. Think smarter apps, better online recommendations, maybe even future self-driving tech.
Right. So restrictions could potentially slow down development or make those future products more expensive.
Could be. Delays, higher costs, it's possible. Plus, these wider trade tensions can have ripple effects across the whole economy. Something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Okay, what's the next story?
Let's shift to something maybe a bit more immediately tangible for people's wallets. Intel planning to increase chip prices.
Inflation strikes again.
Seems that way. They'd hinted at it earlier this year on an earnings call, I think.
Yeah, citing inflationary pressures. And now it looks like it's actually happening.
Yep. Reports say customers are being told to expect hikes across the board, chipsets, microprocessors, the lot.
Any idea how much?
Could be pretty steep. Some figures mention increases up to 20%.
Wow, 20%. That's quite a jump.
It is. And the timing mentioned was starting back in Q4 2022, which sounds old, but likely means these were plans put in motion then that are now filtering through or being fully implemented.
And the reasons are the usual suspects. Inflation, materials costing more.
Exactly. Rising material costs, higher production costs, all contributing.
And Intel isn't alone in this, are they? We've seen price increases elsewhere.
Right. Nvidia raised prices for GPUs and some other gear. There was talk AMD might do the same.
And Intel's building new factories, new fabs. That costs a fortune, so maybe that's a factor too.
Could be part of the calculation, yeah. It does raise concerns, though. If tech gets too expensive, people might hold off on upgrading, right?
It's a tricky balance. Interestingly, though, didn't the head of Acer just say the chip shortage is basically over?
Yeah, Jason Chen. He said some suppliers are now actually trying to offload chips, sell more. So it's a weird mix of maybe supply isn't the issue everywhere, but costs are still going up.
And Intel themselves had warned about demand potentially weakening. Macroeconomic pressures, they called it.
We also saw TSMC, the big manufacturer, tell clients about price increases for 2023, citing their own rising material costs. So it seems widespread.
Okay, so the bottom line for listeners, that new laptop or phone might cost more soon.
Very likely, yeah. Anything with an Intel chip inside could see a price bump reflected at the retail level.
And maybe even cloud services, since data centers use tons of these chips.
That's a good point. Could filter through to subscription costs or service fees eventually too.
Okay, so export curbs impacting future tech and rising costs hitting current tech prices. What's the third story?
This one's also about Intel, but more about potential internal changes. There's a new CEO coming in, Lip-Bu Tan.
Right, he was on the board, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And former CEO of Cadence.
That's him, and word is he might be planning a pretty significant overhaul.
Overhaul in what sense?
Well, sources suggest he's looking at restructuring Intel's whole approach to AI.
Okay, that's big, given how important AI is now.
Definitely. Also possible staff cuts, especially aimed at what's described as slow-moving and bloated middle management.
Shakeups often involve that. Anything else?
Revamping manufacturing operations, which is interesting because Intel is now also making chips for other companies like Nvidia, right? Their foundry business.
Right, that's a newer strategy for them.
Yeah.
So revamping that too.
Seems like it. Now, it's important to say these are reportedly plans still being worked out. They could change.
Sure, early days for a new CEO.
But Tan himself apparently mentioned needing to make tough decisions at a recent town hall meeting. So something seems to be brewing.
And the market liked the sound of this.
Apparently so. Intel's stock jumped over 8% when the news broke midday. Suggests investors think change is needed.
Well, Intel has faced challenges, haven't they? They kind of missed the boat on smartphone chips, arguably.
They did, and they haven't dominated the AI processor market like Nvidia or seen the architecture success ARM has had recently.
There was that comment from an industry expert suggesting the previous CEO was maybe too nice, didn't make the hard cuts needed.
Yeah, implying that Tan, with his background, might be better positioned to drive a turnaround. He knows the industry inside out.
So how does a potential Intel overhaul connect back to us, the users?
It's maybe more long-term, but still important. If Intel manages a successful turnaround, it could mean more innovation, stronger competition in the chip market.
Which could eventually lead to better, maybe cheaper tech products down the line.
Potentially, yes. More competition is usually good for consumers, but periods of big restructuring like this can also create, some instability or uncertainty in the short term.
True. Lots of moving parts. So you've got the geopolitical stuff hitting exports, inflation hitting prices, and internal strategy shifts at a key company.
Exactly. It all ties together in unexpected ways sometimes.
It really does.
So just to quickly recap the three big things we looked at today.
Go for it.
First, those new U.S. export rules limiting advanced AI chip sales to China, impacting Intel and Nvidia, tied into the broader trade situation.
Yep. Second, Intel's plan to hike chip prices due to inflation and rising costs, which will likely mean more expensive gadgets for us.
Right. And third, the potential for a major shakeup at Intel under incoming CEO Lip-Bu Tan, aimed at AI and manufacturing, which could reshape the competitive landscape.
All seemingly business news, but with real potential downstream effects.
That's the goal here, connecting those dots. And remember, we are here to help here at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
Definitely. So maybe the thought to leave listeners with is this. Considering all these developments, the trade friction, the cost pressures, the industry shifts, how do you think this might reshape the actual devices and online services you rely on every single day in the, say, next few years?
Good question. Something to ponder. It's certainly a space we'll keep watching.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.